DJ Basket here with my first broadcast of the Basket City Review. Today is a very special day because I have a special guest here with me today, and his name is Vance Major, aka the Great Celebrity.
Yep.
He's known for his work with Starbase Studios, which is he works with Melbourne and at Starship Valiant. Say hi to my audience there, Vance.
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing?
And of course, the YouTube comments will be like, "Hey, how's it going?" and all that other stuff a week or so later.
Right on.
So, give me a complete rundown on Melbourne that you're currently working on right now.
Well, Melbourne is it's a TOS/TMP fan film for Star Trek. For those of you that don't know, TOS means original series. TMP means the motion picture. So it takes place between the original series and the motion picture. We're moving past the original series and we're moving into the motion picture era. So you're going to see kind of phasers like this and phasers like this. So a lot of the fan films, they kind of tend to stick with the original series era sets and everything, since that's kind of, that's what Starbase Studios has set up. And when we first started, when Jeremy Minard and I first kind of came up with the idea for Melbourne, we really wanted to do something that was different. And with the limitations Starbase Studios has, which are, TOS era sets, we wanted to set ourselves apart. A lot of fan films, they don't have a set plan. And one night early on, I was watching the Daredevil miniseries. Well, not miniseries, but the Daredevil series on Netflix, which I absolutely love. But I love the fact that they released everything like early on, and it was meant to be seen as like a 13-hour movie. And I loved that. And I thought, wow, that's really smart. And I thought we should do the same, like a six episode movie arc. Like our show should be viewed as one movie. If you watch all episodes, it should be seen as one entire movie. But obviously, with real life kicking in, we can't film all of them at once. So of course we got to have episodes. Like episode 1 would be like chapter 1, episode 2 would be chapter 2. But if you watch all 6, that would be seen as like one entire movie. Just like Daredevil did. You watch episode 1, of course that tells a very small fraction of that movie, but you watch all 13 episodes, that's one entire movie. So I called Jeremy up and I said, hey man, this is kind of what I think we should do, because a lot of the fan films, they want to go on forever. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to tell a very definite story and then stop. So he loved that idea. He thought, what, that's exactly what we should do. So we came up with the idea of what we wanted to do, the story we wanted to tell, because we didn't want to just tell random episodes with this heartfelt, this perfect idealized crew. We wanted very realistic characters, set on a starship, in a setting that felt very real. And the thing that Star Trek has always worked best in is that it always told very humanized stories. Star Trek was always just a wrapper for the stories that they were telling, but it was a very, very humanized story first. So him and I, we spent probably about 3 or 4 months just talking about characters and character arcs, character involvements with each other, their motivations. The Star Trek stuff came second. So it really, like the Star Trek stuff was just, kind of window dressing for the characters. The characters were what was at the forefront. And once we got the characters established and everything, then we put it into the Star Trek setting. So that's why we were able to move kind of past the original series setting and kind of put it into moving forward into the motion picture setting. That's why it doesn't matter if we use, the original series phaser or the motion picture phaser. That's why it doesn't matter if we use one type of uniform or another type of uniform. Because everything, all those type of things are just, window dressing. It really, the the thing that we were focused on more was the characters. And again, like I said, the thing that works most about Melbourne is the fact that they're very human characters. They're not the Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty. You know, they're not necessarily the best in the fleet.
Right.
And I think Star Trek always works best when you read people like that. You know, when I was younger, I got started on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I loved all of those characters. You know, Data was my favorite. You know, because I was like, whoa, an android. You know, Worf. You know, I loved him because I was like, a Klingon in Starfleet. That's something I never thought I would see. That's really cool. You know, but despite all of those different characters, like, they were still kind of the best of the best. But the series that made me a bigger Star Trek fan was Deep Space Nine, and it was because they took realistic characters and they put them in that Star Trek universe, like things like Section 31, things like Benjamin Sisko getting mad, you know, him walking into the Admiral's office and slamming his hand down on the desk and going, what the hell is going on here? You know, someone getting pissed off in the Star Trek universe really blew me away. You know, him, you know, in the first episode, Sisko getting angry with Picard over the death of his wife because of what happened with Locutus at Wolf 359. Like, those things to me were very passionate things, you know, very realistic things. Like, if you were face to face with the death, or with the man who you felt was responsible for the death of your wife, you wouldn't be like, well, I've got to be better than this. You would be you would be pissed, you know. And so when Jeremy and I were writing these characters for Melbourne, we took very realistic things from our life and we applied it to these characters. You know, we didn't take molds from Star Trek and say, well, let's apply it to these characters. We took people from our life and we're like, well, let's take these molds from people we know and apply it to these characters. You know, so again, that's what I think is going to set Melbourne apart from most other fan films. And that's where I think Star Trek has always worked best. Certainly that's where I think DS9 works best, is, you know, they took characters and made them real and then put them in the Star Trek universe. They didn't just have, you know, perfect characters in the Star Trek universe, you know. And one thing about Melbourne that I think is going to, again, set it apart is, you know, what happens in episode 1 really matters in episode 6. You know, everything is fleshed out. So, you know, it's going to be a very different story. When we set the script off to the different actors to see if they wanted the roles, when they read the scripts, that was the one thing that they said was, this doesn't feel like a fan film. And that, to me, is the highest compliment you can give someone, is, you know, it doesn't feel like a fan film. You know, that is just, wow.
Right.
You know.
It's just what you described how Melbourne is kind of like what they're kind of doing with Renegades, because the whole, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it the whole thing with Renegades, it was supposed to be like a thing they could pitch to CBS? That's what I read. And then it didn't work out.
Yeah, from what I believe, from what I gather, it was supposed to be like a kind of like a pilot for them, and it didn't take. But I mean, I watched it, and from, like, my take on it, because I've had quite a few discussions. In fact, the photographer for Renegades is one of our producers on Melbourne, Michael Sylvester, awesome guy. At the Promenadicon, which is the convention that I host at Starbase Studios every October. Sweet guy, really, really smart individual. He's actually one of the ones that turned me on to Renegades. Was like, hey, watch this, let me know what you think. But I've had a lot of discussions about Renegades, you know, and some people are like, that's not true Star Trek, that's really that's terrible Star Trek, you know. And when I watched it, you know, I thought it was just, I thought it was very interesting, because my answer to that is, I don't, when someone says that's not very Star Trek, I have to disagree. I don't think it's very Starfleet, but I think it's very much Star Trek. Because again, I think everybody has that mentality of everything has to fit into this perfect little box of a perfect corner of, hey, best of the best crew. Because you watch some of these fan films, and they're like, oh, our captain, he's the best in the bunch, and we'll follow him to the end of the line. And to me, those are always kind of a crappy story. I don't want to watch those stories, because, it's kind of like when I was a kid and I watched, like, Leave It to Beaver. I would always feel bad because I'd look at my family and I'd go, oh, man, life's not like this. But I'd watch Married with Children and I'd go, oh, I instantly relate to this, And when I watched Renegades, I'm like, well, I may not agree with everything they did in it, but I enjoyed it because although it wasn't the most Starfleet, it was very, very much Star Trek because it had characters that had heart and they were flawed, very flawed characters. So I could relate to that. It's just like Battlestar Galactica. I think that was probably, to me, that's one of the best science fiction out there, very close to what, I would believe Star Trek would be like. Like, say the Borg invaded, dude, you would very much have a Battlestar Galactica-esque vibe to it. Look at Galaxy Quest. That, to me, is probably the best Star Trek film out there, and it has nothing to do with Star Trek. So when people say, oh, Renegades isn't Star Trek, bull donkey, that is very much Star Trek, I liked it for what it was, but again, it's a matter of taste. You either like it or you don't, and that's pretty much the way Melbourne's going to be. There are going to be people out there who are going to be like, oh man, this thing sucks. Well, that's your prerogative to not like it. Me, I'm going to make the film I'm going to make. I'm going to contribute to the universe that I love, and some people are going to like it, some people aren't. That's just the way it is. As a filmmaker, all you can do is make the film you want to make, and hopefully people respond to it. Not everybody will. That's just life. You can't live by pleasing other people. It's just, you're going to go crazy. I've already lost most of my hair. I don't want to lose what little I have left. So
I haven't lost mine yet, but that day's coming.
Well, there you go, man. Just keep on not losing it, man.
Right.
Keep on what you can't lose. So.
Right. And then next point would be the Starship Valiant, which you're an actor in. You're like the chief engineer, if I remember right.
Yep, chief engineer Eric Menard.
All right. Give us a rundown of that to like the people who don't really like know the fan films and stuff because they live under a rock.
It took place December of 2013. I was on one of the Facebook groups, and Richard Wells had messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, would you mind doing an ad for Starbase Studios?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I don't mind. What is it?" And he kind of gave me a rundown of what it was, shot me a picture with George Takei kind of sitting in the captain's chair. And I was like, oh, awesome, you guys have a captain's chair. He's like, well, actually, we have the whole bridge. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, it would be kind of cool to sit in the captain's chair. That's cool. And he was like, well, we're filming this weekend. What, if you want to come down, you can. And I was like, really? I was like, that would be awesome. So instantly I called my wife, who was at work, and I was like, hon, we've got to go. This is a once-in-a-lifetime deal. I want to go. I've got to go. And she was like, oh, okay, what is it? And I was like, it's the bridge. I want to go to the bridge. I want to go to the bridge. And she was like, what bridge? Because I'm sure she probably imagined me wanting to jump off one. And so I explained to her what happened, what was going on. And she was like, okay. So we Google mapped everything, figured it out. And that weekend I was down there. And, of course, I go down there, I sit in the captain's chair, I get goosebumps, because, even though I was a TNG fan growing up, I watched Captain Kirk and Spock and everything, and I thought, man, these sets are corny. They're who wants Captain Kirk? This is stupid, but walking onto that bridge for the first time, I got goosebumps. Like, even though it wasn't my bridge, I still got goosebumps, because that's still part of your childhood. Even though it may not be your Enterprise bridge, it's still part of your childhood. And seeing those buttons, even though it's, plywood and everything, it's still, you're on the bridge of the Enterprise. And it really is an amazing experience. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke. It really is. you know, sitting in that captain's chair, it really is an amazing experience. You know, some people, when they say they have a spiritual awakening and everything, like this is the closest that I've had. You know, I mean, it was just really a very humbling experience to sit there and just in the captain's chair, you know, to press that button that Kirk's pressed so many times, to stick that thing in Uhura's ear, you know, in yours, you know, and then to realize that, you know, now you probably have some disease in your ear now.
Right.
But it was a very awesome experience to sit there and 360-degree bridge. You know, I could have slept there and been content. So the next day, you know, and this was on a Saturday, and so the next Monday I'm back at work and I get a message on Facebook, and it's Michael King, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to be in my movie?" And I'm like, what, porn? and he's like, no, I make a fan film. I'm the producer of Starship Valiant. And I'm like, oh, because I had no idea who he was. And I was like, oh, okay, why? And he's like, well, you have the look I'm looking for. And I was like, what, fat and bald? And he was like, well, no, but you have the look of an engineer, and I really want to use that look for my film. Like, have you ever acted before? And I was like, no, but I used to play Star Trek as a kid in my bedroom by myself for hours on end. Does that count? And he was like, sure. I mean, we're all just fans anyway, so I mean, we're not really looking for high, you know, actors, but yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, you have that look, like, yeah, let's run with it. And I was like, awesome, can I keep my goatee, because I look stupid with that one? And he was like, sure, I'm not losing mine, so yeah, let's do it, yeah. And I was like, awesome. So I mean, it really was just, you know, that simple. And Michael King, you know, that dude, you know, he's so, you know, by the end of the month, you know, he wrote me, you know, a couple of lines, sent it to me, said, hey, we're finishing up this, we'll have, you know, since we don't have time to film a part with you, you know, we'll have you do a voiceover. So I was like, okay, awesome. So, you know, we shot that first episode with me doing a voiceover, and I recorded it in my front room, sent it off to him. And in the first episode, you'll hear me at the end, engineering.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we shot the special edition, which had me, you know, we actually were able to shoot the sickbay scene. And I come in and actually film my first part with him. So I'm in the special edition. And then this past weekend, we shot the first scene of the second episode of The Ties That Bind. And it's, I tell you, it is a great. The first, we shot Saturday and Sunday, and we shot 13 hours of the on Saturday. We shot 16 hours on Sunday, and I was never so tired, but it was so worth it. We are going to be releasing the footage at SoonerCon, which is in Oklahoma City, on June 25th at 10 a.m. And then we're on panel, and I'm one of the people on panel, going to be discussing it with the people who are watching it. And we're going to be playing the special edition of the first episode, and then we're going to be releasing the second episode. You know, what we've shot, which is about 8 to 10 minutes of the second episode. And I tell you, it's just a great. It's just a great part of the second episode. And the thing I like about this character is, in the first episode, there's a race called the Sukalon, which has attacked the Valiant. And the captain, who in the first episode is not the captain, he's the science officer, he actually has to take command of the ship and kind of step up. And that's part of the charm of the character, is through the first episode, he kind of reluctantly accepts command of the ship, and in the second episode he's accepted command of the ship, and he's moving forward with it. And it's a very realistic take on like what a lot of people in the military, you know, have done by, you know, they leave their family behind sometimes, and the repercussions of that. They accept command responsibilities that aren't necessarily always what they want to do, but they're forced to kind of do because it's for the greater good. In the case of my character, Engineer Menard, in the first episode, there's 100 people on the Valiant that are killed by the Sukalon attack. And one of those people is my wife, Emily. Now, Michael, when I first was offered the job, I asked him if I could create my biography. And he said, sure. Well, when we were filming, I work a job doing forklift in my real job, my real life job, and we're not allowed to wear our jewelry on the floor. Well, I'm married in real life, so I'm not allowed to wear my jewelry. And when we were filming, one of the guys had asked, he was like, hey, is Engineer Menard supposed to have a wedding ring? And I instantly said, actually, yes, because in my mind, my character was married, but he lost his wife during the Sukalon attack. And he is still grieving over the loss of his wife, because in real life, when someone has lost someone that they've been married for so long, they can't take their wedding ring off. And so in my mind, my character is still grieving, and they throw themselves into their work. And Michael loved that so much that he was like, wow, yeah, let's keep that. And he's working that into the storyline of this next episode. And that's one of those things that that's one of the reasons why that I love working with Michael so much on Valiant, Starship Valiant, is because he listens to his actors, and he already knows what he wants. Obviously, it's his story, it's his, he's the producer, he's the one that wants, he knows what he wants, but he knows when to listen to his actors, he knows when to listen to input, but it's really a collaborative thing. And it's such a beautiful storytelling, when you've got, so many different inputs, but yet you all listen to, kind of the captain of the ship when he's like, no, we're going to go this route. And then, you all follow him. It's like, there's not a lot of people that I would shoot 13 hours one day and 16 hours the next. We were all just tired, not to mention the 4-hour drive back home the next, after the 16-hour shoot, but it's such a great, when you all believe in something so much, it's such a great thing to do, to be part of that show, part of that series. And just like Melbourne, they're not cookie cutter Starfleet officers. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry for the noise.
That's all right, man. That's all right.
That's what happens when you have to have the windows open when it's like 95 where I'm at.
Oh, I understand, man. It's all good.
Because someone had to take a joyride on their motorcycle.
That's all good, man.
Alright. Anyway, hopefully you lose your train of thought.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Alright. So you were discussing your character bio?
But yeah, it is such a great thing to go onto that show, and for months on end, I'm focused on Melbourne and my show. But then when Michael's like, hey, we got a part for you, you want to do this part real quick and we can shoot this, and I'm like, yes, I'm there. So then to go drive 4 hours, before we shot this weekend, I got off work. I tried to sleep at home, couldn't. I drove 4 hours. I think I got 2 hours sleep before we actually shot for 13 hours. It's like all of us, I think, got little to no sleep. But that's one of the things about these fan films, is when you actually go, you don't get sleep. You don't get paid. You don't get sleep. You do these things out of passion. And so when people, they make comments, they're like, oh, these things, they're not acted well. It's like, screw off with that. It's like they're done out of passion. You can't sit there and tell these people that they're not passionate about what they do. Like I said, I got out of work, I drove 4 hours, got about 2 hours sleep, then, got up to shoot for 13 hours. I got maybe 6 hours sleep between Saturday and Sunday, got up for 16 hours to shoot, then drove home, finally got up, for 6 hours before I had to go back to work. It's like that right there was passion. Before we shot the special edition, we were literally making the sick bay sets before we shot the next day. we got, I think, maybe about 5 or 6 hours sleep beforehand. But I mean, we were literally making those sets before, making sure everything was lit up properly, making sure everything was put together properly. I mean, it's like if we weren't hauling ass to make sure those sets were completed, we wouldn't have been able to shot the special edition, the sick bay scene. So it's like, you can't tell me that those people aren't passionate about what they do. And again, we're not making a paycheck. We don't make money off that. We take time off work. A lot of people take time away from family. We spend our own gas money, a lot of times hotel rooms, or we sleep on the floor. When we shot the special edition, Scott Johnson's cat attacked me in the middle of the night, so my scars are partially makeup, but part of those are real, because for some reason that damn cat attacked me. thought my forehead was a scratching post. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my forehead was blinding it. I don't know, but it's like, you go through your battle wounds, so it's like, a lot of us in the fan film business are passionate about what we do, and it's because we want to see good Star Trek out there. I do love the J.J. Abrams films. Some people knock them, and I understand why they do. It's either that's not my Star Trek, or we're not making the Fast and Furious, or our Star Trek isn't Star Wars, or some other argument. And again, I understand that. For me, I enjoy them for what they are, but for me, that's not the film that I want to see. For Melbourne, what I want to make, I want to make a rated R Star Trek. For the scene that I want to make, there's a scene that we're going to be making, and I'm bringing on Nate Bright, who is a very talented individual in the makeup industry, probably the most talented one that I know. And when I called him up, I was like, "Hey, man, quick question for you." He was like, "Sure, what's going on?" I was like, "Are you a Star Trek fan?" And he was like, well, and I was like, well, here's the thing. I don't need a Star Trek fan. What I do need is a great makeup artist. And he was like, okay. And I was like, here's what I need. And I described to him the scene. And I said, what I want to make is rated R Star Trek. And then I continued to describe the scene to him and exactly what I wanted. And he was like, dude, you had me at rated R Star Trek. And the thing about it is, with what they have on CSI, with the in detailed, depth of what they do with analysis and whatnot, you can get away with a lot more. And of course, I don't want to make bloody, gory Star Trek. I don't want to make like Freddy versus Jason type Star Trek. That's not the route I'm going. But, if you watch Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that scene when they go on board the regular space station, like, that terrified me. And it was done very tastefully. When the hand kind of falls out, McCoy opens up. I think it was McCoy. It opens up and just the hand kind of slides across his face, and there's like a little bit of blood or whatever. Like, to me, that terrified me just because of what it implied. And Star Trek really hasn't gone down that route of just kind of scaring its audience. To me, that was as terrifying as some of the Alien movies. Just in how less is more. And certainly we never reached that level of terror, being terrified in the next gen movies, with the exception of maybe Star Trek First Contact with the Borg, maybe. But I wanted, with Melbourne, I wanted to reach that level of, I want to make this a little bit frightening to our audience. And I think we can with this makeup artist that we have. Like, there's a scene where we beam on board a bridge, and this bridge is ransacked in almost kind of the same way as the regular one space station. And I needed the right makeup artist for that. I didn't want a makeup artist who was already, who already had preconceptions of what Star Trek should be about. I wanted a makeup artist who was really good at giving what is realistic on, hey, this person is dead. Let's make this person look dead, like on CSI. Something that can be put on YouTube, something that can be put out, and look very realistic. So I really want to put out there, everybody, like I said, who's read the script, looks at this and looks at the characters as very realistic. I want to get something out there that is very different than what we have. I want to give a very good product. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
So, with the next point would be for like something about Starbase Studios. I know you're not the person to talk to, but at least you somewhat know something about it, because I know there's Michael King and then Scott Johnson who would know more about it than what you would know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking, like, if for like people, if they want to like donate to like the GoFundMe, to GoFund this, GoFund that, if they want to like donate or something.
Well, the thing about Starbase Studios, you can go to the starbasestudios.org, or you can go to the Facebook and message them directly and say, hey, I want to help you guys build more sets, or hey, set maintenance. I want to help you with set maintenance, because the thing about it is, every time we shoot, like a button will fall off, or because realistically, everybody wants to pretend that those buttons are 23rd century space age material, but realistically they're just half glued on marble buttons,
Right.
or just stained glass buttons that are glued on, which they break. So to message them, they have a donate button on the starbasestudios.org page, or you can message them on their Facebook page and ask them, hey, I'd like to donate. Or if you do come up to shoot, they do take donations, which I would encourage anybody, hey, if you're going to come up to shoot, please donate something, because it's kind of a common. See, it's kind of like when you go over to someone's house and they, if they invite you over to dinner, you just say thank you. I appreciate it. It's just common courtesy. If you come down to shoot with Starbase Studios, please donate something to them, because it takes time, extra pair of hands, go down there, have some fun. I mean, I go down there, I drive 4 hours just to go down there, have fun. Because I certainly don't have tons of money to throw, but I go down there, it takes me $20 in gas to drive down there. I go have fun. Those people are like extended family to me. So, hit them up, go find out what your passions are. And that's, to anyone aspiring to do film, go find out, because it's so easy to do, and we will point you in the right direction. Any one of us will point you in the right direction. If you want to make a fan film, we will point you in that direction because it's so easy. What exactly did I write? It's been so long since I wrote it. What exactly did I write? Well, the whole thing about it was, and I told my cast and crew from the very beginning, when the whole thing went down, like late January, late December, early January. I told my cast and crew, if you publicly state your opinion on the Axonar slash Mr. Peters situation, you're done with my film. Because I don't believe in drama. I don't like online drama. The whole thing is bullshit to me. If you bring drama to me, or to, if you bring drama to this production, you're done. Um, you can have your personal opinion, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. That's not my place, and I'll never tell you what opinion to have. However, negativity breeds negativity, and I don't like that. So I've stayed relatively silent on it. Now I have my personal opinion. We all do. It's like religion or politics. We all have our stance, and it's great to have that discussion behind closed doors. Um, but some things just shouldn't be discussed. Um, and the thing that made the thing that made everything change was when I saw on the Starship Valiant page when Michael King had to post a response to when every That whenever the name has been brought up, it just seems like drama follows, and that's not something that really we should be focused on. It's just at some point you have to say, okay, something needs to change, something needs to stop, and I wish he would stop.
All right, and I also been seeing, I don't know, you may be able to confirm this. Supposedly, when this fan films really started, apparently, what was it? Paramount and CBS had unofficial guidelines. Can you clarify if that was actually true or not?
Here's the thing.
I don't want to like stir up drama. I'm just kind of like, I kind of did research on this myself.
Here's the thing. You're not allowed to make money. You're not allowed to make a profit. For how many years have we had fan films before this whole thing started?
It seems like a lot.
Long time. Then all of a sudden, it's released that somebody's received a paycheck. Now, I'm not going to say who, but it's released that somebody's received a paycheck. Then all of a sudden, this drama has started.
Right.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, who are we fooling? The rules, you know, do we need guidelines? Maybe. But I think we were doing pretty good before. You know, all of us follow what Paramount says. You know, if they come up and say, hey, no fan films above 40 some minutes, okay. Or no fan films above 30 minutes, okay. None of us, and I mean none, from Star Trek Anthology to Starship Valiant to Starbase Studios to Melbourne to whoever, you know, and again, I'm not speaking for them. I'm just saying, you know, all of us, I think, agree that whatever CBS/Paramount says goes, because it's their property. It has always been their property, and we were always playing in their sandbox, and we are gracious that they let us play for as long as they have. For anyone to say contrary to that is a slap in the face to Paramount and CBS. And it sounds like whenever someone invites you over to their house for dinner and then you spit out the food that they served, then you just sound like a jerk. I mean, is there any other way to look at it?
Right.
And that's just my opinion. You know, I don't think that these unofficial guidelines were needed. We're going to submit them to Paramount. Well, who are you to submit anything to them? Why would they listen to you? I mean, why would they listen to me or Michael or Scott and why would they listen to any one of us? Was it a bad idea? Well, probably not. But it kind of makes it appear that now you're trying to rally the banner, trying to make your own federation per se, and it backfired hugely. Backfired. It paints a very bad picture, and again, I don't think he's a bad guy. I really don't. It's just, there are people out there who want to paint that picture of him, and is it justified or not? I don't know, because I don't know him. I've had one conversation with him and it didn't go bad, but again, for those people who want to paint that picture, I would just say, hey, you should probably stop trying to get yourself so involved, because those people that have that target painted on your back, dude, kind of stop. I mean, for me, I have people that, paint that bullseye on my back. That's why I don't get as involved in stuff as I do. Because I know those people that want to run me down. So I know when to get involved and when not to.
Right.
And for him, it's like I would hate to see his project not go forward. I like Prelude to Axanar. I really do. But sadly, all of his friends who did support him had to back off because, dude, you just, somebody released 12 names of something that was supposed to remain behind closed doors for something that was taken out of context, and that made everybody look bad. And then they were like, you know what, not touching this. So who was it? I don't know. It's not my place to say. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, if drama keeps following you wherever you go, chances are you should probably lay low. And again, that's just, if I could sit down with the dude, like, I'd be like, hey man, looking out for you, stop. Because I want to see that show. I really do. I think Axanar would look great. And I say that as a want to be fan, but sadly, all this drama has, I don't know if I actually could watch it, because all this drama has left such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know if I could watch it, and I desperately would want to,
Right.
But again, anybody that sits there and they blindly follow, this, they blindly follow this person, even knowing all the facts, the only thing I could say is there was another person that was followed blindly, and I wonder what happened to the Pied Piper. So,
Right.
That's just my opinion. What it is, what it is.
Yeah, it's like with my Facebook page for my for like what I do for this. When I posted that statement that I would be like standing with you and what you said is right, I had a couple people that just unliked what I did because they were Axanar supporters, and they basically said Mr. Peters is right and blah blah blah, and I sent them a message saying, you can unlike me all you want, and I'm not gonna get butthurt by it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the thing. Like I've made some friends that are on the other side of the Axanar debate. And that's the thing. Like, we should be discussing this issue. Like, I desperately hate the people that are like, you don't support Axanar, I don't like you. And I'm like, I'm not saying that I hate him. I don't. Like, I think he's fine. I'm just saying, as a fan filmmaker, stop speaking for other people. Stop getting so involved. Like, quiet down, please, because I think you're making a ruckus for everybody.
Right.
And again, I'm not speaking for the other films. I'm just saying, you don't speak for me. Please stop. And I'm sure, there are 12 other films out there that feel the same exact way. and it's not a personal bash against him. It's just, hey, buddy, please stop. Hollywood's biggest problem is sometimes Hollywood doesn't know when enough is enough. Hollywood seems to just throw money at a problem and be like, okay, that's going to take care of the issue. And I love these smaller independent productions because they know when to actually take care of the issue. They think outside the box. Look at George Lucas's, earlier stuff, and he thought outside the box, and that actually made his stuff better. Whereas when he had, the Phantom Menace, he just green screened everything, and it was so terrible. And I think that's sometimes the case with Hollywood now, is they just throw money at a problem, and that's the equivalent of a green screen. It's like you're not thinking outside the box, you're not, thinking what's going to make the story better. It's just, we've become so blah to everything. We think money's the solution, and I think that's kind of the problem here. It's like, you don't always need these big actors. Why don't you go find someone that has, these smaller actors? Like for my production, I have, I have some background actors that are really, really good actors that have starred in, like Nurse Jackie, that have starred in, oh shoot, my mind's gone blank, forgive me. But starred in, several TV shows, several of my actors in several TV shows. But when I was talking with them, I was like, this is really cool to be working with so many different people, from different things, and they're not people that you would recognize. They weren't main actors, but it's like, man, this is cool. You worked on this show, awesome. And when, they sent me screen caps, yeah, hey, here's some of my work. I was like, whoa, I didn't know you were in this. That's awesome. But it's like, of course you could go hire the big guns, but it's like that kind of takes the fun out of giving someone else a chance. And it's just, to me, that's what the fan films should be doing. It's like, give some of these other people a chance. Look at me. Like, I'm one of the most vocal people out there for fan films, at least that I know of. That's why when that guy, tried to mock me by, when I first got the Valiant role and the special edition was released, and he was like, "What, do you think you're some Z grade celebrity?" Like, I took that term and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna run with it." And now, like, most of my friends, they're like, "Heck yeah, Z grade celebrity!" Like, they use that phrase for me, and I love it. Heck, I think on the status that I tagged you in, like, one of the people commented, they're like, "You're a Z grade celebrity." It's like, I love that, because it's like, if that mentality of grabbing the big guns had been for every fan film, I would never have gotten a shot, and where would that have left Valiant? So it's just, to me, it's just, a fan film really should get back to the passion. I've never taken a dime. I'm always constantly tired whenever I do these films, and it's kind of disheartening to know that, some people just don't get that. Some people are out there for the ego. Some people are out there for the lack of passion. And I'm not saying that Alec is. I'm not saying that at all. Don't misread into that. I'm just saying some people's motivations are not where it should be. Some people are truly out there for, let's make a good product. Let's put something out there. Let's give back to this universe that meant something to me. So, I mean, sadly, enough people won't ever get that opportunity to stand up and make a fan film, because, they think there's not that opportunity. And I hope, to anyone who's listening, if you ever want to make a fan film, please reach out to me or reach out to Starbase Studios, message us, because we will help you reach that goal. It is so easy to be involved with one project that's out there, or to start your own. Seriously, it is very easy. I mean, if we can do it, you can. Seriously, reach out to us. It is very easy.
Right. So that's really all I have for, like, this interview, because that was kind of like the main points, like what we discussed about. But